Yoga has completely changed my life, and I think it has the power to change your life as well. Hi everyone, and welcome. Today I am cozy, curled up on my comfortable chair in my comfortable jacket to share with you some of these beautiful lessons that I have learned after really going deep to the mental side of my yoga practice in recent years. Normally on my channel I share full yoga classes, and if you have not practiced with me before, I encourage you to go check it out and flow with me after this. When I first started practicing yoga, I was in high school. I was a dancer and a cheerleader, and so it was fun to just move my body, and I always thought moving my body felt good. But I didn't really elevate it higher than any other form of exercise. But as I grew up and I entered the quote-unquote real world, yoga was a beautiful form of stress relief and expression. But in my early to mid-30s, I dealt with some mental health challenges due to things that have happened in my life. It wasn't until then that I really understood the power of yoga and the power of this practice and having a practice to come home to. So the first lesson I learned is that it's not about the pose that you're trying to get into, it's about the transition in between, and it's the way you get in. So you know the cliche of enjoying the journey and all of that. It's very true. So a lot of us have seen these beautiful yoga poses either on a thumbnail on YouTube or on Instagram. Sure, it is gorgeous to do a beautiful dancer's pose or a full split or anything like that. It's very impressive. But the most impactful part is going to be the progress of building that strength, that flexibility along the way. And in a flow class, it's not about holding any one pose for a really, really long time. It's more about the flow. And so you hear this word of flow state. It's when you're in this deep state of work, in this deep flow of something. I've learned just how amazing it can feel to flow. I am very much a natural type A person who wants to have control over things and have order and have organization. I've learned in life that as much as I try to control things, things are going to happen in their way, in their process. It's not about just getting to that destination. It's not about just getting that notch, that goal that you're trying to achieve. It's really, really, truly about your journey to getting there. And that is where the joy and the fulfillment comes. As you can tell, this is a lesson that I've learned from yoga, but it applies so deeply to life. In my previous career as a journalist, I was very interested in how far I could progress. It was all about moving up markets and moving up and winning this award or getting that big story. And I realized that that feeling of getting that thing that I worked really hard to get was not as long lasting as the feeling of how good it felt to work on my craft and to really feel proud of my work. That felt really good. The process felt so amazing, whereas the end result was awesome too, but it was a short-lived version of satisfaction and fulfillment. And so this practice has taught me that coming to your mat and coming to yoga, it's a humbling experience, and it's not about every single time outdoing the time before. It's about enjoying the process and really feeling good. So just really remembering that the transitions are where the magic happens, not so much the final destination or the final pose or the thing that you're going after. Enjoying that journey, enjoying that flow state in between. This also relates to the in-between stages of life. I also have trouble when there's a gray area and you're in limbo and the unknown. Am I going to get this job? Am I going to move to this new city? Is this going to happen? Is it not? We can tend to spiral and drive ourselves a little bit crazy when considering different possibilities, when really so much of life is gray area. Really just learn to embrace that all of the pieces are not always going to be in place all of the time. The next lesson I've learned is that the most important thing for me to feel is a sense of freedom. I have found that when I come into my mat and I find this beautiful flow, I can tap into that feeling of freedom. That's what I'm after. And to me, it's not even that I'm after happiness, because I think a lot of things can make me feel really happy, but it's that freedom that makes me really feel like I can thrive, where I feel free to be who I am and to be comfortable with myself in all scenarios, and that I'm free to show up, free of the stress or the limiting beliefs and the things that I I feel are making me feel less than, free of the desire to fit into somebody else's expectations of me, free of the feeling that others are judging my decisions. Freedom to me means possibilities. That's something that I often set as my intention in practice, is just to feel free. I have the choice to make this day great. I have the choice of how I look at certain things in my life. I have control over my body and my mind. If I start from that place of freedom, I can show up to my life and feel like I can be my best self for others. My next point is that I've learned to listen to my intuition. So in yoga practice, there's a sequence that your instructor will set for you, but you have so many options to listen to your body. It's something I say a lot in my classes. Really listen to your body and do what feels good. Listen to your intuition and learn to really get to know yourself and feel comfortable in the choice. So when you feel free on your mat or in your life, you can let go of all of the things that make you feel like you should do this, look like this, do this pose in that way. These are broad because they relate to yoga and life. And I think yoga is such a good microcosm of life. It's a little example of all the lessons that you can take with you off your mat. So listening to your intuition and really getting in touch with what is truly good for you, independent of the outside noise or what you will look like from the outside. A lot of times I feel that when I listen to my intuition, I have more courage to take risks. Getting comfortable with your body and getting comfortable with movement on your mat is such a beautiful way to follow your intuition, and you can take that with you from your yoga practice to your life. So this next one is one of my favorite lessons, and it's to play more and to think of everything as experimental. Yoga is, I think, a form of play, and as adults, I don't think we play enough. I have 2 little kids and their life is about play. Like their work is play. And play is such a fundamental way that they learn. They learn about themselves and they learn about their world. And I really believe that the same goes for us as adults. If we learn how to play and to feel playful and experimental and to not take everything so seriously, life can feel a lot freer. So these all kind of tie into one another, as you can tell. Of course, there's some things in life that are very serious, and those things require serious attention. But I think if you start approaching life and decisions with that playful attitude, you'll notice that it really softens things. It really softens the pressure. Sometimes in life we can have choices that feel like permanent decisions. We can agonize over them. And I think when you have a more playful attitude, an experimental attitude, you can quiet some of the noise and really follow your intuition a little more genuinely. The next step is to simplify. I don't know about you, but I can get in my head a lot. Sometimes things just feel so complicated. A lot of times I'll show up to my mat and feel just like this really tangled stress, like it's as though my thoughts are just all mushed together. And then I come to my mat and I feel that I can simplify, because you're just focusing on that pose and allow everything to come into one. So drawing your attention, drawing your mindset into your pose or your breath or one thing. Doing that is powerful because you realize things are not as complicated as you are making them in your head. When I was working in my very stressful job, I would get off and run to the yoga studio, get on my mat, and I would walk in with just so much on my mind and like a heaviness and a pressure. At the end of class, in those moments of stillness, I just felt it simplify and I felt it start to settle. It took me a long time to really understand it, but it's a really powerful thing that comes from the yoga practice. So I read this quote recently, and it's actually one of the quote themes in a recent video, that when you simplify, you simply fly. I just thought that was such a cool play on words. Simplifying mentally and simplifying your actions, simplifying your words, and simplifying your thoughts is powerful. I think that also goes for yoga. You know, sometimes we approach yoga as I need to go hard all the time. And recently in my practice, I have just started going easy. There's times I come to my mat, maybe you're fighting off a cold, maybe you've got some aches and pains in your body, and you realize that the movement is incredible, but the stillness is sometimes the most impactful thing for your body and mind. And there is so much power in being fully awake, fully present, but also still and slow. I'm a very fast-paced person, but forcing myself to slow down and simplify is not easy, but it is so very impactful. And I'm not perfect at it. I get a little crazy, and then I bring it back and bring it back to my practice. The next thing I learned is that movement is medicine. I've seen this through my own personal practice for my mental health and my physical health, but I've also seen this for people in my life, for people with whom I have shared yoga who feel so much better. I'll see the transformation at the end of class, or they will come up to me and tell me, and it might be a physical ailment, it might be mental struggles, but this practice really has the power to shift things in an amazingly beautiful way. For me personally, since I have 2 little kids, I'm carrying them and carrying a lot of stuff all the time. I've started to pull my back out a lot. When you pull your back out, you have the first reaction is just like, I need to sit still and I need to lay down. But teaching classes in person, I didn't have that option. And so the movement was really the best thing I could do. And it truly helped, and it made it go away way faster. I did a private lesson for a woman with a lot of back pain. By the end of it, she told me she felt so much better. And so I just believe that movement is medicine. I think that moving your body is the biggest gift you can give to your body and to your mind. Just in touch with yourself and really in tune to everything that is going on physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually is such a gift you can give yourself, and it is free and it is available to you, and you do not need a full hour. You do not need an expensive yoga mat. You do not need fancy clothes. You just need a little bit of space. It is so powerful. The next lesson is also very big, and it is body positivity, and it is feeling good in my own skin. The more I have done yoga, the more I have felt a connection to my body, not because of how it looks, but because I'm proud of what my body does for me. The fact that my body had 2 children, and that my strong legs let me walk places, and that my strong arms allow me to carry my children. My mental strength and dedication brings me back. Day after day. Practicing yoga and having that connection with your body and your mind is really empowering, and it makes you less concerned about your stomach having rolls or your arms looking a certain way, and more concerned with what your body can do and how you can feel really proud of that. It took me until my 30s to really feel confident in my body. I always felt like I had to position my body a certain way in pictures, or I felt uncomfortable. Certain things, certain parts of my body I didn't love, but now I'm like, my body can do some awesome things, and I feel really great about that. I credit my yoga practice for helping me through any struggles I ever had with my physical body and how I felt about it. The next one is all of us have is the present moment. And this one is so big. I am more of an anxious person where I think about the future and I want things to go a certain way. I want certain things to happen, or I worry about bad things that could happen. And it's really easy for my mind to go there. So the yoga practice and that stillness and the flow and the freedom that I've learned to find on my mat has helped me to recognize all I have is this present moment. And in this present moment, I am safe, I am healthy, or I am feeling pretty good, and all is well because I am here and I am breathing and I am moving. That's all I can control. Is this next move, this next pose, this next step. It's something that maybe there's a week that I haven't been practicing. I come back, check back in, rein it in, move, and then realize, okay, let's just stay present, stay grounded, we're good. All right, number 9 is the power of breath. So I don't do a lot of breath work practices in my class. I think there's a lot of other instructors that are incredible at that for pranayama or breath work, but I focus a lot on the breath. Off the mat in my daily life, I've noticed when there's times of stress or a moment that just feels really tense and difficult and my mind starts spinning, if I just take a deep breath in and an open mouth, long exhale, there's so much power in that exhale, sigh out, how that can calm your nervous system. If there's a moment where your heart is racing and you take the inhale through your nose and a long exhale out, longer exhale than inhale, that will calm your nervous system, signal to your nervous system that you are safe. It's so powerful what the breath can do to the physical body. With every breath, you can reset and focus in on inhale and exhale. Whenever I had taken yoga classes in the past, before I was an instructor, if there was ever breath work, I would sometimes skip it or not pay attention, but I have recently gotten more into the power of breath and realized just how impactful it can be on your life, your mental state, and your nervous system. The final lesson is that self-care is the biggest gift you can give to not only yourself, but to your loved ones. As somebody who is a mother and has people relying on them, I can feel sometimes guilty for going to a yoga class or taking time for my practice, even if that means other people have to watch my kids for a bit, or I'm not doing anything for anybody else but myself in that moment. It took me a long time to realize that the only way that I can show up for other people in my life, the only way I can feel calm and grounded and clear mentally and strong physically, is if I get moving in my body. It is not selfish to take care of your body and your mind. It is something beautiful. It doesn't mean you have to take 2 hours a day. Some days it could be 10 minutes. Some days maybe you do have 2 hours, and that's amazing. Most days for me, it's 30 minutes to an hour, and it makes the biggest difference in the way that I can show up in my life. So that's that. That is the full list. I hope this was helpful for you, maybe inspiring, or maybe it just gives you a glimpse into the intention and the thought behind how I create my yoga classes and how I show up for you here on YouTube. I also want to extend my gratitude for all of you for being here, especially if you watch this whole video. Please give me feedback. I truly enjoy replying to your comments. I think I reply to every single comment. If you have any questions or comments or requests, please drop them down below. If you're interested in learning more about my story and how I started teaching yoga, I do have a video on that, which I will link and pin in the comments. I also share where I got my training. And if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and check out that video. Whenever you get your next opportunity for some self-care, come practice with me, go check out some of my classes, and I will see you next time. All right, too low. 3, 2, 1. Hello? Hi. I'm doing my talking video, but I can take a break. 3, 2, 1. Alexa, off!